Okay, my friends, it is April 13th, Sunday, April 13th, 2025. It is Palm Sunday. Talked about that this morning, Palm Sunday. Here we'll start with this. Michael McCall, he's a representative from Texas, wishing everyone a blessed Palm Sunday as we enter Holy Week. Here's Rubio. Jeanette and I join Christians around the world in commemorating the beginning of Holy Week as we celebrate Jesus' triumphant entrance into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. If you don't know the story, my kids were at church making this. This is like to look like the palm branches. Okay, and they welcome Jesus into Jerusalem, say Hosanna. Hosanna means "Oh, save." And this is the week before he's crucified and rises from the dead. Okay, so that's the backstory here on Palm Sunday, which is a pretty high holy day in the Christian calendar. Some bad things happen today. And now in Ukraine, they call this Willow Sunday. Okay, same kind of concept. Easter's just around the corner. Today, Ukrainian Orthodox and Greek Catholics celebrate Willow Sunday. Well, so what happened was that the Russians used a ballistic missile that would have cluster munitions in order to kill a bunch of people in Sumy. As of 6 p.m. today, 34 people were killed and 117 injured by the Russian strike on Sumy. 2 of the killed, 15 of the injured are children. Russian strike killed everyone in this particular family, the mom, dad, and the son, who's a 6th grader who's out of the frame because he's a kid. Deepest condolences. Okay. So that's what happened this morning. I talked about it at some point this morning. Donald Tusk says the Russian version of a ceasefire, bloody Palm Sunday. And here, even I was talking about this on Twitter. By the way, I'm at Professor Gerdes on Twitter, and please come follow me if you don't already. But how does the world look away from this, looking at what happened to Volchansk? And this is just evil, where Russians were celebrating that massacre and just calling evil names at these Ukrainians. And then Sumy, what happened? 24 people killed, including 1 child, 84 injured. And I just updated that. And I said war crime. And then I said, and then very next thing, war crime. And I said in the very next thing, war crime. It's just one thing after another. Okay. So even Keith Kellogg was coming out saying, he's Ukraine, the point person between Ukraine and the United States. Today's Palm Sunday attack by Russian forces on civilian targets in Sumy crossed any line of decency. There are scores of civilian dead and wounded. As a former military leader, I understand targeting, and this is wrong. It is why President Trump is working harder to end the war. Okay, he was great until that last line, but okay, nonetheless, he's recognized that as a wrong targeting, war crime as well. Okay. Now, there was something that I saw this morning that we're following up on. I didn't talk about it, but we're following up on. Okay, wow. The mayor in Sumy demands the resignations of Sumy officials or threatens to expose the truth. Well, what's the truth? The head of the Sumy Regional Military Administration and the head of the Sumy SBU, he's going to tell about them. Okay, wow. Mayor demands resignation of Sumy officials, threatens to expose the truth. Mayor, in strong terms, demanded the resignation. So what's going on here? Okay, Mayor Konotop promised to reveal the whole truth after 6 p.m. Kyiv time, but it's already 6:24 p.m. and there's still silence on this page. It should be noted, now this is what the key is, should be noted that the mayor reposted a video from a local journalist who hinted that at the moment of a strike, there was a gathering of Ukrainian military personnel that was taking place in the Sumy University Congress Center, and that's where the strike was, at that Congress Center. So we don't know that there were military there. We know a journalist hinted that there might be Ukrainian military there. And if so, that could have caused it. I mean, so here's scenarios. One, it was just civilians and senseless. 2, it was Russia actually targeting military that they knew were there. 3, it was they thought the military was there because a journalist hinted at it, which is pretty sick. I mean, that would mean that they're actually reading this, all the news and that sort of thing as well, and listening to that journalist and going, oh, we got a target there. Okay, so it could be any of these kind of scenarios, but this happened on Palm Sunday, and this ought to get the attention. Now, I don't know that. Okay, so if it was military is a legitimate target, but there was lots of civilian casualties in that targeting. And so that's kind of, you want to limit that. And if it wasn't that, the Russians just do this anyway, targeting civilians intentionally. So Okay. Let's go on to the next big story. Big story number 2. The mineral deal between the United States and Ukraine could have been a great deal for both sides. It really could have. I was excited by the idea when it first came out. And then when we saw what the parameters were, I was like, oh, this is so like unbelievable that they would do this to the Ukrainians. But those outlandish demands by the Trump administration and still lacking security guarantees, it won't materialize. I think what's going to happen is it's going to delay and delay and delay in multiple rounds of negotiations. Maybe they'll get something at the end, but I think the Ukrainians just want to continue delaying. And as I said yesterday, I think that after it is signed, it has to go through the Rada, and it might even have to go to a plebiscite of the people, as I've been told, but I can't prove that. So take it with a grain of salt. But if that's the case and it's a bad deal, it won't go anywhere. The Ukrainians just wouldn't sign on to it. Okay, now there is some other progress. Russian and Ukrainian officials are set to meet in Ankara, that's in Turkey, on April 15th to 16th, 2025. These are Russians and Ukrainians to discuss the Black Sea security. The meeting will take place at the Naval Forces Command, according to Turkish Minister of Defense, according to sources. Okay, so that could be a step forward, but that's a positive step forward for the Black Sea, perhaps. I mean, like, if you're going to have a deal in the Black Sea, you can't have Russians shooting missiles from in the Black Sea. And I'm sure they're going to have to iron those kind of things out. Now, I saw this and I thought, but then there was another more positive one. Future Chancellor of Germany, Ukraine can become an EU member only after the war. In his first major foreign policy statement since securing a coalition agreement, Friedrich Merz declared that Ukraine's path to European institutions requires an end to the hostilities. I'm not sure that that's necessary for EU membership. I know it is for NATO membership, but okay. At the same time, he also said this: Putin must understand that he has no chance of winning this war militarily. In my opinion, we should have given Ukraine stronger support from the very beginning. Then the war could have ended today. Okay, so that's a better statement. Okay, next big story. Tax on, tax off. There's lots of memes. In fact, I'm going to do a whole video that's nothing but memes about the tariffs and what's going on with Ukraine, not with Ukraine, with the Trump administration creating this international instability with these tariffs. Okay, we'll come back to that in just a moment. Okay. Wide-ranging conversation with Niall Ferguson. This is Lawrence Summers. He is former Obama administration Secretary of the Treasury, I believe. Yeah, Secretary of the Treasury in the Clinton administration. Director of NEC for President Obama. Okay. Here's a number that when I first heard it surprised me. 45% of American imports are inputs to American exports. So about half of what we 45% of what we bring in, or half of what we bring in, are so that we can export things. We're bringing in components that we're going to. So this idea that we're going to like make it all from scratch, just not and it's a really big deal, this stuff about competitiveness. So I don't get where it's coming from. There's no constituency in the business community for doing tariffs in this way. Commerce the Chamber of Commerce is like, why are we doing this? Let's stop doing this. And nobody really wants this in the business community. So think about this: importing things so that you can refine it and then you export it. That's Britain's business model. That's Japan's whole business model, right? I mean, and we're doing the same thing as well. So if you go down these tariff roads, it's going to create instability, and it's creating instability around the world, and that's not helping with the Putin, with Putin and Ukraine, and taking our eyes off that because of this kind of thing that's happening. Okay, right now, if I import the parts to make a computer, I pay a massive tariff. But if I import the fully assembled computer, I get no tariff. True genius to reshore manufacturing. Okay, so if you import the fully assembled computer, you might get tariff on that one thing. If you import the component. Yeah, the component parts, then you're going to have all those different tariffs on all those small little levels so that you can build America. So the idea, again, is that we're going to build it all in America. But what do you do that is all you? Like, I mean, Like, I go to Walmart to buy a can of corn. I don't grow the can of corn. I import it into my house. And that's the way that the world works. And we're kind of being dumb. Okay, a beautiful plan, the best plan, the greatest plan ever until reversing 180 degrees tomorrow, in which case it becomes the best and most beautiful plan. To say otherwise is to commit the greatest and in some ways the only sin in an autocracy, disloyal to the dear leader. Yeah, it's weird watching people try to say, oh yeah, this was brilliant for him to suspend this after bringing this up. No, we shouldn't have brought it up to begin with. Okay, now this meme is funny, but it's also funny in other administrations when this happens. When the sign behind you has more honesty than you do, whitewashing. I said White House and Washington, but yeah, and this isn't the only administration where this kind of thing would be funny. Okay. So another meme here, and I'm going to show you again a video of nothing but memes with this kind of thing. It'll be coming out, and a lot of them are pretty funny. Make America Great Again, $50, and the hat's made in China. Make America Great Again, $50 is crossed out, and now $77. Make America Great Again, crossed out, 102. Crossed out again, 112, right? I mean, that's what you're going to get involved in with this trade war, and it's unfortunate. Here's Tim Cook of Apple explaining why Apple manufactures in China and not the United States, and it's not just about low cost. Listen to this.
There's a confusion about China, and let me at least give you my opinion. The popular conception is that companies come to China because of low labor cost. I'm not sure what part of China they go to, but the truth is China stopped being the low labor cost country many years ago.
And that's true. And China actually outsources then to lower labor countries like Vietnam. And so, but there's a reason here.
The reason is because of the skill, the quantity of skill in one location and the type of skill it is. Like the products we do require really advanced tooling, and the precision that you have to have in tooling and working with the materials that we do are state of the art. And the tooling skill is very deep here. You know, in the US you could have a meeting of tooling engineers and I'm not sure we could fill the room. In China you could fill multiple football fields. It's that vocational expertise is very deep, very, very deep here.
Okay, so that's the reason that they're doing what they're doing by exporting. And again, open any economics textbook and they'll say, like, you know, you get richer when you are more productive or when you trade for something that's more valuable to you and more valuable to them, and you trade things, right? That's the way we should be doing this. Okay, full circle back to the first story, all the war crimes kind of thing that was going on here. And here, same day, this is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia putting out a report titled War Crimes of the Kiev Regime, Materials of the International Public Tribunal on the Crimes of the Ukrainian Neo-Nazis 2024 to 2025 has been published. On the day that you are doing what you did in Sumy, even if there was a military purpose, all the casualties of civilians around there, like, you need to work around that, even if that's, yeah, okay. Last little bit, Putin's place is at an international criminal court and not in a negotiations table on Ukraine. And there's something to that. I mean, really. And then here's Darth Putin. Worth noting that we used cluster munition to bomb the Palm Sunday service. Remember when my troll said cluster munitions were bad? Good times. Darth Putin again. So bombing hospitals, theaters, and kindergartens didn't cross any line of decency. And here he's replying to Keith Kellogg, who's at least saying that this is crossing a line of decency, targeting civilians in Sumy on Palm Sunday. And a little bit more beyond that was, well, to be fair, Schultz and Biden were more or less okay with it too. Yeah. That's pretty sad. All right, my friends, thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.